I'm so happy we were able to join the road trip. This is going to be so much fun.
I know.
Yeah. Okay, so if you can just start out by telling a little bit about yourself and about how you started writing, that'd be a wonderful place to start.
Um, well, I've always been a reader, but I had no interest in writing. I guess I don't really know where that came from, but I was perfectly happy reading other people's stories. Um, and then I was an English major in college, and so I wrote a lot of like research papers,
Okay.
which were not very fun, but so that was the only kind of writing I knew how to do. I didn't take any creative writing classes or anything like that. And then one day my friend and I were just kind of brainstorming all the things that we love about books, and we made this long list. And anyway, it became the outline for my first series. And then when I started writing, I realized that, oh, it was fun. So
Oh
now I
my
still do
goodness.
it.
That is so cool. I love that. And I love that it kind of started for a love of story and, reading and everything like that. And when did you start publishing?
I published my first book in 2019.
Okay, awesome. And how many books do you currently have out? Because I think you have quite a few out.
31.
Wow, that's amazing. Oh my word. That is amazing. And how have you done that? Like, I mean, I'm sure, have you done some rapid release type stuff or?
Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, uh, so let's see. For the first few years, I released a book every other month, but they
Oh,
were a
wow.
little bit shorter. Let's see. They were this size.
Okay, yep,
So
sure.
not like super long. But now my books are longer, so they're like a little bit bigger,
Sure.
you
Yep.
know? So um now I do about 3 to 4 a year.
Okay, sure. And is that writing 3 to 4 a year or publishing, writing and publishing?
Writing and publishing.
Okay. Oh my goodness. I love that. I love that. I can't, this is so much fun. So, when it comes to creating a new story, do you feel like the character comes to you first, or do you feel like the plot comes to you first?
Sometimes it's a little bit of both. One of the things that I love the most is crafting the characters
Oh,
because personalities are so different, and there are so many things that can affect the way that we react to certain situations or the way that we believe or anything about our life. And all of those little things put together are so fun to me.
yeah,
But I do love certain things about stories that I definitely want to like. I know that I want this part in a book and I want it to be these characters. And a lot of times that means that I have notes and documents about characters that I might write one day.
okay.
But if I think of something that kind of fits a certain character type, then I will put it in notes for a future book. I
Hmm.
like to plan ahead. So if I write a series, I kind of plan most of the series before I start. I
Oh,
mean, it
wow.
it it changes along the way, which I'm totally fine with. But yeah, basically, already know a little bit of what I want to
Okay.
write before I start the book. So I'll have just like a page of notes, and they're not in order, and they don't always make sense. But then when it's time to write that book, I can go through and put them in order and take out the things that don't matter or that change and make it into its own thing.
Right. Oh my goodness. I love that. And so do you feel like that's kind of like, I know some authors do like story Bibles and stuff. So is that kind of like your story Bible a little bit?
Yes.
Or, okay, cool. And then do you feel like you're a plotter or a pantser, or is that pretty much the extent of the plotting or
Oh no,
planning?
I'm a total plotter.
Okay,
Like,
you are.
yeah, yeah. And so much so that I will outline a book, and my outlines tend to get a little bit long. They're broken up into chapters, but sometimes it'll be like I have this much notes about a chapter, and then sometimes it'll be like, yeah, and this happens. But I kind of get stuck when things are not flowing really well.
Sure.
And I look at my outline and I'm like, I don't know what to do. And then I have a few friends who know to just tell me, it's fiction. It can be anything. You can change your outline. And I'm like, oh,
Right.
man.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it doesn't always work.
Yep.
So I have to remember that it's fiction and I get to do what I want. So,
Right. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. So, and when you find those moments where you are, stuck with your outline and writing it and stuff, are you kind of like, what are some things that have helped you figure out the next step, to change it where now it will work compared to it was stuck before? What are some
a lot of
pointers
it
that help
is
you?
like sometimes I'll do a brain dump of all of the possible things that could work, could get me unstuck. Sometimes it's talking to a friend and brainstorming and having them tell me, no, that's a terrible idea. Or yeah, think about that a little bit more. But I need people to tell me if it's a really stupid idea. So
Right. Right. That is a good.
I'll just call up a friend and say, what if I did this? Would that make sense? Is that stupid? So
Oh my goodness, I love that.
yeah, I like getting feedback on the front end so that I haven't written the whole story and then have to
Right.
go back and change a bunch of stuff.
Oh my goodness, yes. Oh my,
I
I
actually
love
have
that.
a group of people on Facebook, a beta group of I think 13 people
Mhm.
that they read my chapters as I write them. So as soon as I finish writing a chapter, I will send it to them and then they give me feedback like that day
Oh,
about things
cool.
that didn't make sense or they were like, I didn't understand what was going on here. And then I can fix that before I move on. And that's really, really helpful.
Oh
And
wow.
they're my readers. They were going to be reading it anyway, and I would rather that, and I know that they're going to be honest with me. So
Right, right.
it
Oh,
really helps.
that is wonderful. Oh my goodness, I love that. And that is so nice to have those honest readers that a handful of them that can like read through it and they get back to you super fast. And that's
Mhm.
wonderful.
Yeah,
That's great. Oh my
I
word.
really appreciate them.
Oh, I bet you do. I bet it's just like priceless, like honestly. And so when it comes to a day in the life of author Mandy, what does a day in the life look like for you?
Oh, that's really funny. Um, okay, so I am a creature of habit. I love routine and consistency, and I will do the same thing every day and be happy. But lately, my life has taken quite a few hits, so things are just different.
Right.
Um, Typically, I still work. Um, I wouldn't call it full time. I'd call it part time. I work for my dad's company and I do the
Okay.
bookkeeping for him, but it's an hour away. So what I will do is I will take my daughter in the morning to my parents' house. She'll stay with my mother all day while I'm at work, and I get in the truck with my dad, and he drives me to work because we're both going. So it's really great because then he can drive me and I can write for an
Nice.
hour on the way to work and an hour on the way home. But
Right.
when I'm at work, I'm doing the bookkeeping stuff. So it's like I get to switch from the creative brain to the numbers brain, and it
Right.
gives me a break and time to think about what's coming next in my story. So
Mm,
that really helps. And then when I get home in the afternoons, it's family time and sports or practice or whatever else is going on. So and I also try to get up early in the morning before my family so that I can have a few hours of quiet before the
sure.
day starts to, you know, read my Bible and get started on my story and, write my newsletter or
I
do
love
things like
that.
that in the morning before it gets away from me.
Oh my
But that's
goodness.
the typical day. And we recently added in um, homeschooling. We're homeschooling this year. I only have one
Ooh,
daughter, but it's
fun.
it's new to us, so it's taking up a lot of time. But it's great. It's been working so far.
Good.
Um, I also just took on a position with my church, and I'm also running the food bank at my church. So
Oh wow.
it's
Yep.
my days are not the same as they used to be
Right.
just 6 months ago. So I'm still trying to get used to it's going to look different. So
Yeah. And then how old is your daughter?
she's 9.
9.
She's in
Okay.
fourth grade.
Okay. So quite a busy age with like her activities and everything. So yeah.
Like the moment this conversation is over, we're running to a volleyball game. So
Oh, fun. Well, that'll be fun and everything. But
yeah.
yeah, I'm sure things have changed and like with like the thing at your church and also being a homeschool mom now and being a writer. And you were saying that you wake up early in the morning. Like what time do you usually wake up?
So I'm a night person and I've always been a night person and I hate mornings. I hate them so much.
Same.
And but I guess maybe a year or two ago, I figured out that if I get up before my family, that my days don't start with, "Where are your socks?" and "Mom, what are we doing today? Mom, where's this?" And I don't have my breakfast. So I was a much happier person when I have my morning alone and I get to drink my coffee
Oh
and
yeah.
work in my Sunday school lesson because I teach the fourth, fifth, and sixth graders. And I'm just like, yeah, if I start my morning with Jesus, we're all better
Right.
off. So,
It's true.
so now it's between 5:15 and 5:45, somewhere in there.
Okay.
But
Yep.
I'm not sure I can do much more than that
Yep.
without just dying a little inside.
I hear you. I hear you. I am definitely a night owl as well. And it's like, it's when you look at the clock and it's 11, it's like, oh, the night is young.
Yeah.
Even though it's yes, yes, need to go to bed earlier, but it's hard when you're a night owl.
hmm
Yeah, oh my goodness. So
But now I just kind of work myself into an exhaustion by the end of the day, and then I'm like, okay, bye.
I'm gonna go to bed now. Yeah, oh, that is hilarious. Are you currently working on a new project right now?
Well, I'm finishing up a Christmas book that is, let's see.
Fun.
Yeah, it's September, and this one will release next month. So I really, really, really hope that I have it finished this week, but it's probably not going to happen because I'm going to have a booth at a festival this
Oh,
weekend selling my books.
fun.
I love the festival season. So
You're so much
um,
fun.
my town has a festival called the Foothills Festival, and it's got like live music and
Oh,
lots of food
fun.
trucks and things like that. So I usually have a booth and just get to talk to all my friends, and they come by
Oh,
and see me for the latest book, but also we just get to catch up and stuff. So that'll be Friday. And so if I can wrap this up before Friday, it would be a miracle, but maybe next week. But then I will be switching to a book that I will be releasing in January. I've already
okay.
started it, which is not very much, not very like me. I don't work on two things at once.
Oh,
But this
okay.
time I got into it and then I realized, oh, this one is due first. So I had to switch.
Oh,
So
sure. Yeah.
I will go
So,
back to it.
okay. And then for books like that, so you haven't started it, but this one's going to come out in January.
Yes.
So, how long does it usually take you to write a book? And then, the leeway time between like finishing it and edits slash publish, just so I can get a sense for that. Let's see.
So, let's see. It takes me between like I think this one that I'm working on now, it's a little bit shorter than my usual ones, but it's taken me about 6 weeks, maybe
Okay.
around six
Yep.
weeks. And the longer ones take me around 2.5 months or
Oh,
so.
sure. Yep.
So, but I like to be finished and editing and getting it looking nice at least a month before the release.
Release. Okay.
And I keep telling myself that I make my own deadlines because I'm self-published, but I also kind of think I know what I'm doing. But then at the end, I always panic. I'm not a procrastinator. I'm like,
Right.
let's get it done and call it the past kind of thing. Um, so I like to
Yep.
finish early and then go, oh, look, it's done. But yeah, but I have friends who will write a book and then they'll finish it. And then the next 3 days, they'll be like, here's my book. And so
Wow.
I can't do that, but they are really good at it.
Yeah,
Um, but I'm not. I like to be super early. Um,
that's good. Then there's less
so that
stress,
month gives me time to kind of also prepare my brain for the book going out into the world, and other people are going to be reading it and they're going to be giving me feedback and
That's scary.
all that good stuff. Yeah, it's scary every time.
Right. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I completely get that and everything. So, and then for the book that we're spotlighting, can you tell a little bit about that book and also kind of like what inspired you about that one?
Okay, remind me, is the truth is a whisper?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. This one.
Yes, yes, that
Okay,
one.
so this is the first book in my Wolf Creek Ranch series, and the
I
series
love the cover.
before that. Thank you. That's a fake hat. My cover designer put that on him. I was like,
Really?
"It's you."
It looks like
I
it
kept
belongs.
asking. I kept asking her. I was like, first of all, if you're using stock photos for your covers, the cowboys look ridiculous. I'm like, there is
Yeah.
nothing here. So she said he has to have a hat. And I said, well, put a hat on him. And she was like, no, you just have to pick one with a hat. And I was like, no, they look ridiculous. Put the hat on this one. So,
We need a cute cowboy. We need a cute cowboy, right? Like he
I
needs to
know.
be cute.
There's
Yes,
the behind the scenes of this one.
I
But
love it.
anyway, so this one was actually one of my longest of the time.
Okay.
Now I like to write longer, but this one had more subplots and more things going on and more little details and mysteries being revealed as the
Mhm.
story goes along. And it's also really focused on family because Ava, the main character, she's kind of been isolated from most of her family for her entire life. So it's just been her and her mom and
Mm.
her dad, and she kind of lost touch with her grandparents who own this ranch. And then misses the chance to meet her grandmother altogether, but gets to reconnect with her grandfather later. And it's a lot of my family, and I still have all of my grandparents. And so I love having them around,
That's
and
cool.
they tell me all about their history and what things were like back then. And then my family, when my family people in my family were younger, and that's so special to me. And so
Mhm.
I really put a lot of that in this one. There's a quilt, like her grandmother would quilt, and my grandmother at the time was handing me these pieces of a quilt that had been worked on by the women in my family for over 100 years. And so but it was still just pieces, but it was like my great great grandmother had like embroidered these little bonnet girls. I don't know. I don't even know exactly what they're
Oh,
called, but the
yeah.
bonnet girls on all of these squares, and they were made out of like the not potato sacks, but what were they? Like
The
a
flour sacks, I
flour
think.
sacks.
Yeah.
And so, but it's still in all these pieces. And like then it passed down to my grandmother, so the other side of that family and her mother, and they worked on it until her mother died. And then now my grandmother has
Wow.
arthritis and she can't work on it. And I was like, oh, thank you so much for this quilt. I know nothing about this. And so I've
Right.
got all these pieces, and I was going, hey, anybody help me? So I still have all the pieces, and I have not found anybody to help me, take up quilting.
Yep.
But that was a lot of that they have like a quilting group and things like that that
Love
meet.
it.
And so lots of support, lots of, growth and family secrets and learning where you come from. And, you have to have the cowboys because I love cowboys. I grew up on a cattle farm here in Alabama. We don't call them ranches in Alabama, but we have cattle farms.
Yep.
And so I love the determination and the hard work and that work ethic. My grandfather is 85 years old and he
Wow.
still works in the fields every day.
Wow.
And my grandmother has just decided that one day he might not come back from the fields. And I was like, oh, you're tougher than I am.
Wow.
Thanks. But I mean, that's just the way he
Yeah.
is. And he wants to be out there doing that. And my dad does it. And all the men, they still do that. So I love that work ethic and
Mhm.
the sense of doing something that matters. And so I love the Cowboys and I love writing them.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I
And
just
also
love
like,
that.
a lot of small town charm and feel about it. I live in a small town. I love it very much. And my husband, he is we live in Alabama, but my husband's from Birmingham, so the bigger city. And we moved out here to where I'm from in the country when we got married. And he still thinks it's so funny that I see people that I know out in public every time we go somewhere. And he's like, that just does not happen in the city. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you better have your makeup on if you go to the store. So,
Right. That's so funny. Oh my goodness. And it's like real life romance there with like a country girl and a city boy. That's so funny. I love that.
yes, but I mean, he was meant to be out here in the country because he loves fishing, he
Oh, good.
hunts, and all of that. He does well. He hunts deer, but on Sunday at church, he came up to me and he said, "Hey, I'm going dove hunting after church." And I was like, "Do you know how to dove hunt?" And he said, "No." And I was like, "Okay, have fun with your
Have
friend." So,
Oh, that's funny. Oh my gosh. He's like, nope, nope, never done it.
yeah.
So that story idea, what was the first thing that kind of sparked that idea for you for that story?
So actually, I mean, like there's a lot of family drama in this one. And what actually started it was a really weird thing that my parents were selling their house and they weren't getting any buyers. But one day my dad just happened to be at their old house And someone pulled up in the driveway and they said, "Hey, can we look at the house?" And he said, "Sure." And this, peepaw looking man, old guy with, beard and everything in his overalls. And this woman, they're just talking to him and he's kind of showing them the house. And this woman starts talking about all of this family drama that she's got going on. And there were murders and there were cover-ups and
Oh,
he's not
wow.
her real brother. And my husband died of this and there was an accident at work. And I was just like, "She told you all of this?" And he was like, "Yeah, she just kept talking and now I know everything." And I was like, "Wow. Like, is that real or did she just make that up?" But I was like, I make up stories for a living, so I could do whatever I want. So,
Wow.
anyway, there were a lot of twists and
Yeah.
that I can't believe she just told you this crazy story. But I was also like, could she write books? Like she could probably write them.
Yes. Yes. Oh my
It was
gosh,
a
that's funny.
wild, wild tale.
Oh my
But
word.
anyway.
And so that kind of inspired the story.
Mhm.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that is so cool. That is so hilarious. It's crazy how story ideas come and like is that kind of like how else like do ideas come to you? I know a lot of authors love that and some hate that question, but I kind of like that question.
My favorite, I mean, like there are certain tropes that people tend to gravitate toward. Mine
Right.
are friends to more
Oh, yeah.
stories. I love those. I don't have a male best friend, but I just love it when they're so cute and they know each other and
Yeah.
everything. And they
So
have a
adorable.
history, and there's always already so much that they know about each other. And when it just clicks, I love it so much. But like, I can't really write enemies to lovers because I can't stand for them to be mean to each other.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, if I'm reading it, that's fine. But I also kind of get like secondhand embarrassment. I'm like, I can't believe they're being mean to each other. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, like, I will get inspiration from songs mostly. I love music.
Oh,
I
cool.
can't sing at all. Like, I can't carry a tune in a bucket with a lid on it,
Oh,
but
that's
I
funny.
love music, and so I get a lot of inspiration from music. Um, and sometimes, especially if there is a child in the book. I have my daughter and my nephews, and they are hilarious. Kids say the darndest things.
They do.
And I have a couple of books where everything that the kids say are things that my daughter and my nephews and all those have said. But I mean, it's so true because I'm like, that's what kids say, and those are the things that they do.
Right.
Um, and a little side note is that I have a story where the woman, she keeps chickens. She has chickens and she would name all of them. And then her friend has goats and he names all of his. And there's a chicken and a goat who are friends and their names are Herbert and Janella. Well, they're my neighbors and they are
Funny.
the sweetest old couple. I love them so much. But when I didn't tell them about it, and then when they read that book, they were like, "It's Herbert and Janella." And it was so funny because all my neighbors were going, "It's Herbert and Janella."
That's so funny. They were like, that's them. That's so cute. Oh my word. That is hilarious. And I love that. And I love the idea too of the chicken and the goat. They're friends. That's adorable.
My family on their farm, they have chickens, and I did not know that you could raise turkeys too.
Oh,
So they're raising turkeys now, and they had chickens in their roaming around, and then they added turkeys, and I was like, can you have those together? Like, do people do this? I've never heard of anybody raising a turkey. Yes, chickens, but what are your turkeys for? And they're just roaming around with your chickens and they look the same. How do we know that what's what? And I
right?
was like, I mean, I guess they'll look different when they grow up, but the
Oh,
chicks kind of
interesting.
look the same. But
Yeah. I bet I'm guessing they'd be a little bigger probably or just not.
barely at the time that I first saw them, I was like, they kind of look the same. I might not be able to tell them apart. So
Oh gosh, that's hilarious. I didn't know that either.
they
That's
were like, yeah, they'll be
hilarious.
fine together.
Yeah. Oh my word, that is so
And then so
funny.
do
Do you
you
feel like you also pull in, like you said, you're in Alabama, right? And so
Yes.
do you feel like you really pull inspiration from where you live and everything like that into your stories too?
From the family farm, yes, where I grew up, I loved just being able to run around, and we had acres and acres that, the kids didn't come home until late at night and
Right.
then you'd eat. But I love that and I love the freedom of that and I love that my kid gets to have that too. So, also, my dad has a lot of crazy stories about, working cattle on a farm, and he'll tell me every once in a while. Um, and I ask him questions all the time about things that have happened, and I have quite a few instances in my books of things that happened to him. Um, but and then he kind of burst my bubble about the larger ranches, and he said, they heard the cattle with helicopters now, and I was like, shh.
Really? Ugh.
We're not doing that. And
Yeah, that's kind of not romantic, right? Helicopters, really? The
the
bigger
bigger
ones.
ranches do.
Oh my word. I didn't know that. I wonder if that's true for like the whole country. Like, 'cause like I live in North Dakota, so there's a lot of farmers and ranchers around here. And then I know Montana and Wyoming is big cattle country there. So
Mhm.
pro there too, you think?
I also heard that some of them up north, which I've never been to them, to the ranches up north, but some of them will send their cattle down to Texas during the winter. And
Oh,
I'm like, well, yeah,
wow.
it'd
Huh.
probably be too expensive to feed them in the
Right.
winter.
Right? Oh my goodness, I didn't even think about that, but that's interesting. It's really cool to have that like, that experience and knowledge coming from your family, your dad, your grandpa, to be able to add that into your cowboy stories because, a lot of us don't know that stuff. So that's actually really good information.
Now, actually, when it comes to horses, I don't know a lot. So I'm always talking to my friends going, is this what horses do? Can you
Yep.
tell me a little bit about how this would work? So
Oh,
I have to
funny.
ask a lot of questions. And thankfully, I have some beta readers who will be like, that's not how that works. And I'm like, thank you. Tell me how it does work.
How does it